I think the West has some of the most beautiful landscapes I've ever seen, but we still had a lot of driving left to do. We left Little Rock at sunrise and crossed into a very windy Oklahoma, only stopping once for lunch because the plan was to make it to the desert before sunset. We reached Texas in the afternoon. So when you're out here, things start to get interesting. Sometime in the 80s, a man named Ralph Britton bought a water tower at an auction and put it outside of his truck stop along Route 66. Passers-by were confused by the tilt. They thought it was caused by an earthquake, or a tornado, or maybe even a clumsy pilot. It turns out Ralph just used a bulldozer to lift the two legs, and the whole thing was done to get people to stop at his store. Further on down the road, in a cow pasture just outside of Amarillo, 10 Cadillacs sit, half buried in the ground covered in graffiti. I found a can of spray paint on the ground and tried to add to the display, but unfortunately it was empty.
It's not going.
Thoughts on Texas? There's a lot of wind turbines, so that's good because they have a lot of wind.
I almost got it. I got something. But it took a million years to get a GPS signal. So we'll see how that turns out.
There's a lot of light pollution on the East Coast no matter where you go, so I pulled off the highway one night and saw the Milky Way for the first time. I couldn't believe how many stars were visible, or how bright they were. It was so quiet out there too. I remember my ears ringing loudly from hearing the sounds of my car all day. After 17 hours, we stopped for the night in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Along Route 66, between mileposts 4 and 5, there are some signs that say, "Reduce to 45 to hear the song." For the next mile, the sounds of your tires on the road will play America the Beautiful. It's one of 2 musical highways in the US, designed to encourage drivers to slow down. By early afternoon, we'd made it to Arizona. We only had a few more hours to get to the Grand Canyon, but there was one sign that we just had to stop for. It led to a meteor crater, 550 feet deep and almost a mile across. There was even some plane wreckage at the bottom, where a pilot got caught by the wind. With a few hours of daylight left, we headed on to our last stop. The Grand Canyon is nothing short of incredible. I went for the first time 3 years ago, and it's still one of the most amazing formations I've ever seen. I took all my photos for this trip on film because I think it's weird to switch from video to photo on the same camera. It'll take a couple of weeks to get those developed and scanned. We stayed for sunset before heading to our Airbnb in Utah. Next up, we'll be doing our hike to Angel's Landing in Zion National Park, so until then, thanks for watching.